I've heard the term postpartum depression, and I think I have sort of an environmental or say atmospheric understanding of having some idea about it just from the way people talk about it. But I don't know that I know a formal definition or some specific characteristics of it. So maybe it would help. It would help me for sure to get a more formal perspective on it.
I can't really tell you much about postpartum depression. I didn't experience postpartum depression.
Uh,
Yes, there are diagnostic criteria that you can look up, but the hospitals are pretty good about screening for it. And then also when a woman sees her OB/GYN before and after, they screen for it, midwives screen for it. Like I actually think there's too much of an emphasis on postpartum depression.
mhm.
I think what postpartum depression really is burnout. It's a lot. And what a woman is expecting from motherhood in her mind, if there is too much cognitive dissonance between what she expected and what the reality is,
Hmm.
I think that's also going to make her more likely to experience postpartum depression. To an extent, for me, I knew to expect the unexpected. I actually have way less expectations of like motherhood compared to marriage as an arena of my life.
Hmm.
That's why I've always been like rocking and rolling as a mom. I don't care because the kids are probably going to be okay no matter what decision I make. They're probably going to be fine. But our culture probably puts too much of an emphasis in postpartum depression for women, and I think it might create that. But really, it's the whole you need a village situation, right?
Mhm.
I think it's terrible that women have to rely on men to take care of them postpartum because they don't know. They don't carry the baby. They've never been a mom. But our culture is basically making these guys the support system for these women in those time periods. And yes, I do think like with time and repetition, men can get very much better at the craft. But it's terrible that that is a responsibility that's on them. Like ideally, you'd be getting taken care of by other women. However, a lot of people today are selfish. And if you're going to have a village as a woman, you have to be a villager, which means you have to serve other women in a loving way, in a selfless way. Otherwise, people are not going to be, well, women are not going to be as apt to take care of you, if that makes sense. I have a village this time around, but it took a lot of cultivation. It's my church family.
Mhm.
So I understand that that's not an option for a lot of women. And I'm in a very unique situation with my church. It's full of millennial wives and moms. Like half the congregation is babies.
Oh, there
So
you go.
I'm in good hands there. So I would just encourage women to create social networks if they're lacking. And I know that it's hard, but it's better to have it than not.
Mhm. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to know that it's more than just a hormonal crash. Like I could imagine the process of being pregnant and then giving birth, your hormones shift so radically now that the baby is out that that will create a bit of emotional disturbance or a bit of an emotional shift. But then also the cognitive aspect of what I expected this to be versus what it actually is, and perhaps like what does it say about me or what does it say about the world? The massive mindset shift that makes a lot of sense to understand that it's kind of both of those.
hmm Well, I mean, that's just me operating under the premise that I do think a lot of mental illnesses, including depression, yes, there's hormonal influences. I will
Mhm.
never take that away from a new parent, but a lot of it is how we're thinking about a situation. And women are being told from the time that they're schoolgirls that they're not any different than boys and they can all do the same things. And then if you have a baby and that's the first time that you find out you cannot do the same things, yeah, it's going to stress out your marriage. It's going to make your motherhood experience pretty dark, pretty bleak. And then on top of that, you've got social media. I don't know a lot of women who handle social media well, although
Mm.
they will lie about it. I don't think so. And social media is gonna get you postpartum if you're not careful with your screen time. Yeah.
Mhm. What, like seeing the happy lives that people curate for their social media feed with their kids and wondering why don't I have that in my behind the scenes life?
Well, that's part of it. That is more of the covetous side of it. But it's also whatever emotions get provoked in you, that's what the algorithm is going to feed on. So if you're
Mm.
postpartum, sleep deprived, having all these feelings, experiencing a major change in your life, The algorithm knows when you give birth, by the way, and it knows when you're pregnant too. It's very quick to figure it out. And I guess
Yeah.
because you get interested in that stuff, I do prefer looking at some pregnancy content on and off. I'm not on Instagram that much because it impacts me a lot. So I very much limit my use there. However, it's like if you're feeling negatively about the postpartum experience, Instagram will make sure that you feel worse because that is the content that you're engaging in and it's keeping you on the screen more. So
Mhm.
I've had this conversation before. I wrote an article about it. A lot of women were very happy to read it. Um, I think men need to be mindful of their wives' screen time in the postpartum period, which is uncomfortable because a lot of guys are working. He's like, why do I have to worry about my wife being on her phone while I'm at work and she's got a new baby? Shouldn't that be her responsibility? Listen, man, the weaker vessel, okay?
Right.
You got to help her out and just take a peek. Like, what is the stuff that's populating on your feed? Just having a conversation about it. Like, I actually don't think this is helpful for you. You can curate your algorithm too.
And you should. Men should
Mhm.
men should curate their algorithm quite strictly.